Yeah, my name is Andrew Guest. I teach in the Department of Social and Behavioral Sciences at the University of Portland. And I'm actually not officially presenting. I just am coming through, and I have a background at doing some research about youth development in different contexts, including Africa, and had done a part of my dissertation in Angola and working with children and youth in Angolan refugee camps. And I also have a background in soccer and in soccer coaching, and have a lot of interest in that as part of youth development. So had done work with physical education school sports in Malawi for a couple years. And this year in this, what FIFA's calling the Year of African Soccer, I've been interested to try to offer some perspectives from outsider, but one who's spent a lot of time interested in these issues. And so I thought this conference would be an interesting chance to see what people are talking about and what kinds of issues are going on, and potentially try to write some things. I've been doing a weekly online column for a soccer website, trying to focus primarily on soccer in Africa, not exclusively. I also write about some other issues, but it's a website called pitchinvasion.net. And so Gerard had mentioned he actually saw one of the pieces I wrote there about age in African soccer and the sort of fuzzy nature of age. But again, since I'm not actually presenting here, I don't have a specific point of focus. I thought I'd maybe mention a couple things that had struck me or that are of particular interest from what I've seen, and thought maybe that would be helpful. The couple things that strike me in particular. One is that there does seem to be a lot of emphasis on the kind of grassroots development stuff in relation to all the events that are going on and the attention trying to turn that into interest in more grassroots development through sport things. And that's certainly an area of interest to me, and it's also something that I think is tends to be pretty complicated. It's interesting to me how much of it is about trying to sort of influence kids develop their social skills or their life skills. I worry a little bit about that, because I worry that it may give the idea that the problem is that people don't have life skills, when in fact I think a lot of the problem is economic inequality. They don't have access to jobs, schools, healthcare, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of interesting issues there, and it's been interesting to hear some of the discussion around that. The gender issues are really interesting, and the issues around, with so much attention to men's soccer this year, will women's soccer get some benefit from that in terms of sort of trickle down, or will it continue to be marginalized and ignored? So it's interesting to hear a little bit about that. I'm looking forward to we're going to play a movie about women's soccer in Africa during lunch here, and then there's going to be some sessions about that. So that seems to me to be a really important and interesting topic. And then a question that came up this morning that strikes me as really interesting as well is just the broader way. As an American who's interested in Africa, I'm very attentive to the ways Africa gets represented, and because there's so much attention to African soccer this year, it seems to me like this is a big year for people who are soccer fans but not necessarily knowledgeable about Africa to learn some things, and they can learn things that are positive, but they may also learn things that are negative. So hearing some of the discussion about the representations of Africa, and in fact in the last session Gerard mentioned noting in the keynote yesterday that the fellow talking about the South Africa's preparations for the World Cup was asked several questions about security concerns, but those questions came from other Africans, not from Americans or from outsiders, and Gerard noted that as something of interest in terms of representations. Even for Africans, there's these concerns about South Africa being really dangerous, which I'm not sure is entirely accurate. Certainly there's challenges, but there are in any big city, and so it's interesting to see how that gets projected onto the whole continent and onto images of the continent, and how sports provides this context in which people learn to understand Africa. And I've been thinking a lot about whether that's going to be positive, negative, some of both, whether overall it'll be a good thing or a bad thing. I think ultimately, I hope that people will get more accurate understandings, which includes both the good and the bad of what's going on in the continent. So those are, I guess, the things that I've been particularly attentive to, and I appreciate the conference as a chance to get people together who are interested in some of these issues and hear lots of interesting presentations and perspectives on that kind of stuff.